Sorry. Understanding the limitations of the tools is important. I wonder if anyone has rebuilt the engine of Fallout 1 2 to include better event handling scripting. Check out, do a Google search for FOnline. Somebody has rebuilt, well, not rebuilt, so built from scratch an engine that uses the Fallout and Fallout 2 assets, the textures, the animations, and all of that stuff, and the menus. Although they've rebuilt the menus as well. But the downside is that FOnline is an online only game, so you basically you have to create a server or log into the servers that are publicly available, and there are like 4 or 5 different publicly available servers, so definitely worth checking out. And also because it's open source, several different people have created different versions of it, different split offs, or different split offs, what are they called, whatever it is, they made their own version, and then they of course did their own mods that are built into the FOnline community. Forks, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. So there's FOnline, FOnline Reloaded, FOnline 2, and FOnline 3 at least. Is this the... Somewhere is a list. There's definitely a community around it. It's too bad. It looks like the status checker's no longer active, but yeah. Yeah, they don't have a list of servers anymore. I'd have to do some searching to find out where the latest list of servers are. All I can say is that there used to be a status checker, but it no longer exists, I guess. So I don't know what to do about that, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you can find YouTube videos about it. What's his name? TK Mantis used to do videos about FOnline before he started doing drama stuff. On a related note, I play Morrowind using the OpenMW engine rebuild. Runs natively on Mac Linux. Smooth as butter. Cool. Cool. Okay. Feel free to check it out. Yeah, absolutely. I can say this for certain, when with a guide, somebody guided me through, somebody in my chat actually was kind enough to guide me through the intro to FOnline Reloaded, I think is what it was. I think it was what it was. And it's different. It's completely different story to the regular Fallout game, but the writing I thought was hilarious and really well done and totally 80 cheese shtick. It was just schlocky writing. It was really awesome. I thought it was really good anyway, that way, because it was so schlocky. But the thing is that it plays slow. It's very slow gameplay to it because there's no speed options, and it's an online only, and you're playing with other players, so the speed is at a set rate already, and that set rate is pretty slow. So, because it's slow, you have to figure out where you're going, and trying to talk to all the NPCs at that speed is really frustrating. Especially trying to move across the map. But once you know where you're going, and if you have somebody to guide you, man, it's a bit of a fun little romp, at least through the story part of it. But that being said, it's also a very grindy game, so it's not my kind of thing. The grind does not appeal to me, has never appealed to me. But anyway, other than that, there's that. Let me see. Unfortunately, the source code for Fallout and Fallout 2 has never been officially released. FOnline was made by people reverse engineering the Fallout game, the Fallout engine, and building their own engine that supported everything. And it was rumored for a long time that the source code was gone, because once Interplay was bought by Bethesda, they owned the source code, and they probably, considering that Bethesda never bothered to, and probably will never bother to, re-release Fallout or Fallout 2 in any sort of updated version, they will probably completely lost those source code. But Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky, one of the two of the lead developers on Fallout, the original Fallout game, mentioned not in an interview, but when they were playing Fallout 1 on stream one time, mentioned that they had the source code. Although there's been some debate on the Reddit article, and I need to make a video about that Reddit article, but they mentioned that they had the source code, and they talked about it, and they're like, yeah, and it still compiles, so they were just missing one specific thing in order to get that final compiled, and it was like an audio driver of some sort in order to get that final compile to work. But still, they have the source code, so maybe someday we'll get the source code released, and then we'll start seeing some actual updates to the way the engine runs. But for what it's worth, the SFall, there is a mod that does a lot of modifications to the engine to make it run faster, which is why this kind of a mod exists and why I'm playing this at a slightly faster rate. And There's a whole bunch of different extra things that have been added in it. It's called the SWAL mod. It comes pre-installed with your digital versions of Fallout and Fallout 2 right these days. Did you make a short YouTube video with a clip of Tim Kaine saying that? Yes. It's called Tim Kaine Has Secrets. I'll show it to you guys. This is 11/17/2018. I made this in 2018. This was just before I made my Fallout 2 combat tutorial, or started making my Fallout 2 combat tutorial. Maybe it was around the same time I started, because I didn't release it until 2019. But anyway, but yeah, here I'll go ahead and show it to you guys. It's only 3.5 minutes. So you, here, let me just go ahead and, for those of you who are interested, it only has 489 views. It definitely deserves more. And if I cover it again, and I should cover it again, I can get some more information on it. What does this mean for Fallout? They're hoping the original developers of the original game actually get a chance to make another Fallout. But a more interesting question, which has been a long-standing one in the Fallout 1 and 2 modding community, even Per Joiner, the writer of the most thorough game guides I have ever seen for any game, lamented about the necessity to decompile the game engine to understand some of the trickier bugs he was doing research on when he was writing his guide, would like an answer to this question too. Darmore1233 asked,
do we still have the source code, or is it lost to time like most source code for old games?
And Tim Kaine's surprising response.
I have all the source code. I tried recompiling it about 3 months ago. I did not keep a copy of Direct Sound as the part of the DirectX package, and there are things that don't connect anymore, like some of the sound calls take 2 parameters instead of 1, and I'm like, what's that other parameter? I don't know.
I would just like to point out, though, we did not take the source code, any source code, from Interplay when we left. We came upon it much later.
Yeah, that was something we didn't have.
What this means for many of the people in the Fallout 1 and 2 modding community, and yes, it's a thing, with mods still being made 20 years after the game's initial release, is that there is still some hope after 20 years of fixing bugs and recompiling the engine, something that many fans of the original games have hoped for some time would be possible. Alright, anyway, there's another 30 seconds here of stuff, but anyway, there you go. There you go. What's stopping him from publishing that? The digital preservation? Bethesda. Bethesda is what's stopping him, what was stopping him from publishing that. Now, however, Bethesda and Obsidian Studios are both owned by Microsoft. I don't remember what specific branch of Microsoft was owning them, but they both got bought out by Microsoft, as I understand it. So there might be something in the works if somebody was interested enough to. Somebody interested enough and high enough up in the corporation to suggest that, you know, to be like, hey, why don't we do, like, there's been remasters of Baldur's Gate, there's been remasters of freaking a game I really want to play at some point in the future, Planescape Torment, remaster of Planescape Torment. I fucking love that. Sadly, there hasn't been a remaster of any of Tim Kaine's games from Troika, which is really too bad, but I guess that's because he's the one who owned Troika, and since he's working for Obsidian Studios now, he hasn't had the time to do anything for Troika. But anyway, yes, Planescape Torment. Hell yes, Planescape Torment. Because that game, the combat's so because it uses the Infinity engine, but the story, the writing in that game, just freaking phenomenal. Just absolutely, just brilliant writing. And I really want to play that game again because of the writing. But anyway, but I've been focusing on Fallout 2 for this channel, for this stream, and for my YouTube channel for a little bit, so I'm trying to continue to build, because I know there's an audience. I just haven't reached everybody. I suspect there's no one at Microsoft making a priority out of 20-plus-year-old games, even now that they now own. Yeah, even now that they own the components. Yeah, absolutely. I know. But that's the thing. It's like, for all that they may not be focusing on it, there have been remasters of other games that I assume have sold well. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 in particular, Shadows of Mom and all that. Those have full remasters. Like I said, Planescape Torment has a full remaster, but you know, they just took the whole thing, took the source code, and then kind of made it much nicer, easier to get through. Probably fixed a few bugs, and I'd like to see the same thing for Fallout 1 and 2. It would be nice. Yeah, I've wanted to play Planescape, but the engine is really off-putting. I need to mod it, but I also need to figure out the wine configuration. Considering getting the remaster. I have the original on CD, but But I've also picked up the remaster recently, and the remaster is pretty nice, and you can zoom in and out, and you can. It's basically the same thing as. Well, I mean, it's the Infinity Engine. So they did a remaster of the Infinity Engine, and I suspect they simply reused that Infinity Engine remaster to make to go between Planescape between Planescape and Baldur's Gate and probably a couple of other Infinity Engine games. GOG has been an amazing company for fixing up all of the games. I don't know that GOG, maybe. I'm not so sure that GOG has been paying anybody. It'd be nice if they were, but I'm not 100% on that. What I do know is that GOG has been really good about contacting the modding community and including mods that fix those games with their GOG games. So the GOG has been really good about that, which is really cool. In particular, I know for sure that that they contacted or somehow had some sort of communication with the modding community when they started to include SFall. GOG included SFall into the Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 games. So there's a version of SFall, I'm sorry, not for Fallout 1, but there's a high-res mod for Fallout 1 and a version of SFall and a high-res mod for Fallout 2. Anyway, they published fixed versions. It's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So GOG is really good about reaching out to the modding community and including a lot of those fixes in their games. The downside is I don't know for sure if GOG is paying the people in the modding community, but I do believe they are at least getting their names out, which at least assists them. You know, at least that is some sort of a return. But yeah, I don't know if that was GOG's fault or not, but apparently Bethesda, when they took the rights to sell Fallout and Fallout 2 from GOG, I know Bethesda just simply included those mods with their games now that they're selling it. But whatever. GOG probably has some good game updates. But I'm aware of plenty of games that are just terrible ports. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always a mixed bag, and it's always however much effort the person wants to put into it. And that's a question of how popular the game is. And Fallout 1 and 2, super popular, partly because of Bethesda's Fallout 3, I'll admit, but still, so they put some effort into that. And I suspect Planescape Torment as well, but that being said, Planescape Torment has had a re-release, so, you know, a remaster. Remake? Remaster. And well, that's about all I can think of to say, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to the game. All right. Up by a few points from 34. What the hell?
You died within a week.
What the fuck?
Everyone forgot about you.
Why did they just murder me?